Seahawks fans, wherever you may be. Thanks for listening to the show. Join your hosts, Bill Alvstead and Keith Myers, as we talk Seahawks football. Hey, hi, Seahawks fans. Welcome back to another episode of the Seahawks Playbook podcast. I'm your host, Bill Alvstead, sitting down with co-host Keith Myers here to talk Seahawks football. We are here on a Monday late afternoon talking about the crushing defeat of the Buffalo Bills over the Seattle Seahawks at Lumen Field, 31-10 yesterday afternoon. It was a total drubbing. Seahawks lost in all three phases of the game, plus all the self-inflicted mistakes on top of that. It was not even close. And anyway, it'll be interesting today to talk about this game because, you know, I was very optimistic at the beginning of the season, Keith, and I think in retrospect I was completely wrong. But I still think that the team it could have turned out that way. But for some reason, this team is not playing up to its, I think it's 100% potential. And I'm not sure if it's chemistry or if it's just the mix of players, if it's the coaching, if it's Gino, if it's John Schneider, as far as failure to bring in the exact formula of player combinations to get this thing done. I think it's in general kind of all of the above. So let's talk about it. Try to work it out.
I mean, not this game in particular, but overall, like Schneider had too many problems to fix in one offseason. He needed 2 new middle linebackers, 2 new safeties, 3 or 4 offensive linemen. There's too many things, too many pieces. He did admirably in order to get guys in that appeared to fill holes. But that's what they were doing. They were filling holes, not finding pieces. And some of the holes just were bigger than we thought they were. They didn't fill them. And that is where we are today. And this team just isn't good enough. There's tons of talent all over the place. But at the same time, there's also big holes. And until they have an opportunity to fill those holes, it's not going to be pretty all the time.
I agree with you on one sense. On the other hand, I can't completely let John Schneider off the hook. I mean, he has been general manager for 13 seasons. It's not like these holes just got created.
Yeah,
these holes have been kind of ongoing. The defense has had the same issue with defending the run, finishing 29th or worse now, looking like 3 years in a row. So in order to not make that the number one priority in the offseason and actually fix it is now it's a longer problem than just the single offseason. And you could do that with a number of issues. Offensive line, obviously I just said stopping the run, consistency at determining kind of what you're doing at the quarterback position long term. I mean, there are just a number of different things. Now, I don't want to put it all on John Schneider. Obviously, Keith, we've talked about this all the time.
Pete Carroll deserves more than half of the blame for that. Yeah, I mean, Schneider could have done a better job. He missed on a couple players that he drafted and that kind of stuff. And but his hands were tied. And so that team had some problems. And so did this one. But he was asked to turn over the roster really quickly for a new coaching staff with very little resources. And so what you ended up with is guys like Baker at middle linebacker and Jenkins at safety that they were given 1-year deals for a reason. These weren't long-term solutions. These weren't guys that were there to be major contributors. They're there to fill holes in the roster because they had to jettison some really bad contracts. So now defending the run part, yeah, but some of that in the past years was scheme, and some of that is, just the type of talent that they've gone out and gotten. And I mean, Derek Hall's a good example of a guy that, does a lot of things well and plays hard. And he made some really dumb mistakes in this game, but he's not the best run defender. And okay, but when you have so many other things that have to be done, you're just going to leave him in there in the roster as that spot and worry about you'll kick that can down the road another year because you've just got too much other stuff to do. You can't completely, fix every hole in one off season. It's just the roster was not good enough to be in a spot where he could do that. So I like that some of the stuff that's happened. Some of the holes were, they were just too big to fill. They needed 2 middle linebackers and you had to replace Bobby Wagner. They didn't manage to do that in the offseason, but guess what? You can never replace Bobby Wagner. So I don't know. In this game specifically, I don't know what else we could really talk about in there other than the fact that they got beat at the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball.
Yeah. That's the big thing that came away out of this game for me.
They're just not good enough at the line of scrimmage. Offensive line, defensive line, it doesn't matter. They just got manhandled there. And honestly, the running passing stats, for this team are absurd. And, Ken Walker had 9 rushes. He had 9 rushes.
It's human nature, Keith, to want to blame something, right? It's just, so you go out there on social media, you look at not just Twitter, just, in general. And, there's already some of the same people that asked for Pete Carroll to be fired are now asking for Mike McDonald to be fired. It's so crazy. It's just crazy. Stupid. But taking all that away, Seattle did get clobbered in this game and also got clobbered in 3 other games. Pretty well lost 4 of the last 5 contests that they've been in. And some of those have been double digits. Now, those same people that are kind of asking for Mike McDonald to be let go or trying to assign blame to him on this thing and the way that they lose and the composure of the team and maturity levels of the players and so forth. This is Mike McDonald's first gig. It's also his first season as head coach for this team, and this roster hasn't had an opportunity yet to put his fingerprints all over the roster, just a small portion of the roster so far. This is an inherited roster by and large. About 65 to 70% of the players are players that were under Pete Carroll's system. Now, you can say, well, John Schneider was responsible for those as well. Yeah, that's partially true, as Keith alluded to in his statement, but not all of it. So I think you got to have patience with this thing. If you were honest with yourself, and I'm just talking in general to fans and listeners out there, and you kind of agreed with Keith's outline of the season in his prediction show that we had in early September, you would have to say that we are right on target, bad loss included, because this is exactly where Keith had predicted this team.
Yeah, I had the team at 4-4 right now. Guess what? They're 4-4. I had, I didn't have all of the wins and losses lined up, but because I had them beating the Giants, but I had them at 4-4. This is where we expect this team to be. This is not a complete roster. This is not a let's go compete for a Super Bowl roster. It's not that good.
So when fans are frustrated and see frustrating things and things that they wish could be fixed and they see that needs to be fixed, and the coach says week after week, hey, we need to fix this. We know it's wrong and it doesn't happen. What do you say to that?
Some things can be fixed during the season and some things have to be fixed in the off season. This roster is what it is. It is not good enough, and that should be fixed in the off season. It's also, this was a bad team a year ago. They're in a better position now than they were a year ago. This is an improved team, but that doesn't make it good.
Well, here's also the fact. The fact is that the Seattle Seahawks just faced probably the second best team in the NFL yesterday. And they allowed too many mistakes with zero margin of error.
Yeah.
And you saw a good team, a really solid team, a team that's going to be competing for a Super Bowl this season in the Buffalo Bills with probably a quarterback that's playing as well as any other quarterback in the league right now.
Oh, he's the
Come
MVP
in
so
and
far
take
through the year.
advantage of Seattle where he needed to. And they ran the ball effectively. It was a very smart game plan. Absolutely, McDermott outcoached Mike McDonald yesterday and Ryan Grubb. Our coaches can't figure out how to get an effective run game going. And part of that is because we have a talent deficiency level on the offensive line that's too large to overcome in season in order to be able to effectively run the ball. So they've got to figure out a way around that, and they haven't been able to do that yet. Also, other teams that we face, like Buffalo, like San Francisco, teams with really good rosters, really good coaches, know how to take advantage of that and are taking advantage of that. And like I said, the margin of error is so small when you compile our own mistakes on that, which other teams are also forcing. You take a look at the prime example of that would be the snap that went over Geno's head. That's not one of them. That's a self-inflicted wound. But Connor Williams is very nervous there on the offensive line, and the very next play he steps on Geno's foot because he's getting blown back like severely at the offensive line of scrimmage, and that's Buffalo, man. Buffalo did that. That Connor Williams didn't just step on Geno's foot by himself. He was shoved back so hard, and some of that's conditioning for Connor Williams. He's coming off an ACL. There's maybe some weakness there. Obviously, defenses are trying to take advantage of that and are able to. And it just compounds like over and over again throughout a game. You have 6 or 7 mistakes, and all of those work against you, in addition to just another team being superior, talent-wise against you. A team like Buffalo is definitely going to beat you like 9 out of 10 times.
Yeah, they are the better team right now. I will look and say that there are some things the Seahawks can do, whether they're capable from the coaching standpoint of doing these things. We'll see, but Ken Walker getting 9 rushes in a game is not going to win you many games. That's going to be a problem.
But he picked up 13 yards on those 9 rushes.
Yeah, but a lot of.
This was not a good. Do you just keep feeding him the ball when he's getting a good run
defense team? This is a team that gave up 5.1 yards per carry against. They were worse against the run than Seattle coming into this game. And Walker had 9 rushes for 13 yards. How do you look at that and not say something is seriously wrong with the design of this running game?
Yeah. Or just the talent at the offensive line.
It's more than that. It's more than that. Because this has been a problem all year. The Seahawks are the team that have run the ball the least out of any team in the NFL, and they throw the ball the most out of any team in the NFL. And that's what you get when you are that imbalanced. You get results that are stupid. They need to find a way to run the ball. They need a running game with a better design that can take advantage of the talent that they do have. It's what they've got going right now is not working at all. In terms of the offense, because they can't pass block either. So dropping, Geno Smith back 50 times a game is not going to win them many games either. They need to find some balance. And until they do that, the offense is going to continue to be streaky and up and down. And Plus, they make a lot of mistakes. There's a lot of penalties in this game.
11 enforced penalties against Seattle.
The defense gave the Seahawks
13.
Defense gave the Seahawks the ball at the 4-yard line, and in 4 plays they couldn't get into. They lost yards total. Now, granted, one of those is the Geno step on his foot play on 4th down, but it's not like they looked good for the previous 3 downs. I don't understand why they went for it there.
So on the first down there, they allowed so much penetration on basically they're on the 3-yard line or 4-yard line, as you said. They allowed so much penetration on the run, designed run play to Ken Walker there. Ken Walker was tackled behind the line of scrimmage because the offensive guard at the time, Bradford, allowed his defender to go unimpeded into the backfield and essentially wait for Ken Walker to just come into his arms. It was absurd. And then the next play was the snap over Geno's head, and the play after that was the step on his foot.
No, that was a different.
What was it?
Different drives. Because the step on the foot, those 4th down was they were in there.
Okay.
But anyway, the snap over the head was a previous attempt where they got down, to like the 3-yard line, and then only got a field goal out of it because of the snap over the head. And then one, they started the drive at the 4-yard line and ended it at like the 6. The offense is a mess. It's just a mess. It's a mess. The running game doesn't work. The passing game is not well organized in terms of what they want to do. And honestly,
it doesn't help not having a run game. The pass game is directly correlated.
Well, true. And the fact that they have no play action. They run play action the least of any team in the NFL.
I only noticed 2 play action pass attempts in this game.
Yeah. At some point, Ryan Grubb's got to figure out that this is the NFL. This isn't college. You can't just have your quarterback drop back and fling it around 50 times a game and win games. It doesn't work.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think my frustration lies where your frustration lies. I think it's the offensive line, defensive line of scrimmage on both sides.
Yeah.
And it seems like our defense is more talented than they are playing, which is part of my frustration. I'm not exactly sure what's going on there. The translation between Mike Macdonald and what he wants and what he intends and what the defense is actually doing and allowing don't seem to line up to me at all. Like the words out of Mike Macdonald's mouth when he does his post-game press conference, when he does his morning show on Seattle radio, he is saying that this is not what we have intended, what we've designed, we've got to go fix it. The guys know we've done the same message over and over. So, and that speaks to a couple of things for me. Lack of leadership on the defensive side. I think, we saw a little bit of that yesterday.
We saw a lot of that yesterday with the Derek Hall, Jerron Reed.
Yeah. And Jerron Reed had every right to get in his face. I would have too. That would have pissed me off.
Yeah. That was just a boneheaded play and getting in his face and, being the veteran that he is and trying to help the young kid figure out you can't be so boneheaded about it. Like that's his job.
Yeah. Now I would have waited. If I was Jerron Reed, I would have waited to be on the sideline for that confrontation.
Sure.
And rather than take him out in front of the entire world on the field. But nonetheless, he deserved it. He deserved it. So I'm not going to fault him for that. Now, eventually those guys came together and resolved that. That was good to see.
Emotions were high. And you know what? When you're getting your ass handed to you, I want your emotions to be high.
I agree.
Because if they're doing what happened last year when situations like that happened and their former free safety was laughing in those situations instead of being pissed off, that is like when I'm done with the player. I don't mind these guys being pissed off that they're getting beat. They should be pissed off they're getting beat. Emotions should be high when they're getting beat that bad. So you know what? Fine. It happens. It's like during training camp. There's fights, in training camp. There's scrums and stuff. Okay, these are competitors. Like, it doesn't bother me. That I didn't like to see it, but at the same time, like, there's far worse things. I'm really not that concerned about it.
So tell me, what does bother you the most right now?
What bothers me the most right now, and you've heard me say it in the last 15 minutes, it's a lot of it's coming from Ryan Grubb. What bothers me the most is they can't get anything out of a couple of really good running backs. And I know that the offensive line's not great. It's not good, but it's not worse than it was last year. And they were able to run the ball at times last year. They're getting nothing out of it, and they're making no attempt to get anything out of the running game. I just think that the offense right now is poorly designed and poorly implemented, and that I have serious frustrations with that. I think that until this team figures out itself, it's going to struggle. It's going to be streaky. The offense is going to look great one week and then be god awful the next. And they need to find an identity that isn't Geno Smith throwing the ball, 40 times a game.
Let's talk about Geno Smith for a minute, because you've probably heard and seen some things regarding how people feel about Geno Smith. And I don't know that that's necessarily changed. Obviously, Geno's not going to be the long-term answer. I think he's an upper end bridge quarterback for the team. Could be even the quarterback next year, given the fact that we do have so many things to fix. Maybe Geno's not one of them. Unless they work into a great situation, the cap, an opportunity.
Yeah, the cap situation makes it hard unless they're going to commit to him long term. It makes it really hard for them to even commit to him next year. They need to find a way to get this quarterback situation figured out.
I agree. But as far as the assigning blame to some of these things, when you're basically not doing anything well in all three phases, offense, defense, special teams, coaching, and self-inflicted wounds, it goes beyond three phases. Every aspect of the game, Seattle is not doing well on. But Geno Smith, so, I think when you're in a situation like we are with the offense and Ryan Grubb and not being able to run the ball, not even really trying, makes it really hard on any quarterback to be successful. Not just Geno, it could be Sam Howell. Wouldn't matter back there. Mm-hmm. It could be Allen, Josh Allen back there in this offense, and he would struggle.
Seen in past years, you've seen Josh Allen struggle with turnovers and stuff because he was forcing the ball, because he was doing it was the Josh Allen show without much help. This year he's got help. He's got guys around him. And guess what? He's had a tremendous year where he threw his first interception of the year in that game against Seattle.
After over 300 successful pass attempts.
Yeah. He threw his first and only interception of the year was the one that Josh Joby picked off and ran down to the 4-yard line.
It's been almost a calendar year since he's thrown an interception. So what I'm trying to say is that it's not Geno necessarily where you should be throwing darts at this thing. Now, would I like to see Geno a little bit more composed, hold his composure?
Yeah.
Yes.
He was really emotional. He looked like he was crying at times in this game. He drew a penalty. Oh yeah.
He got blocked into the bench. Nonetheless, you're the leader of the team. People are looking to you for composure and for a way through this.
Yeah.
And so
that
you
was
got to
not
rise
leadership.
up.
That was not leader. Now, people have been talking since he came to Seattle that Geno Smith's, he's that leader. He's that guy that in the huddle and in the locker room and on the practice field, like he's a guy that he's worth more because of that stuff than just on the field stuff. But honestly, what we saw in this game looked like the Jets, Geno Smith, where he was all over
playing into that streaky kind of reputation that he's got.
Yeah. Where a teammate broke his jaw and that's how he lost his job. Like that's with the kind of Geno Smith that we saw in this game. It was not the locker room guy, the leader and all those things that we've seen from him since he took over as Seattle starter. He wasn't that in this game, and that's unfortunate.
So there are a couple things that I do want to put onto the coaches. I'd like to see better. Now, McDonald's going to have an up and down season. I don't think his job is going to be in jeopardy. I think you need to kind of run this out a little bit and take a step back as far as having a perspective to allow him to shape this thing into his own image. And that has not happened yet. I think he's saying all the right things. I think he's staying composed. I'm seeing all of those things, so I'm not worried yet about Mike McDonald. Bad teams, though, good teams force errors. Bad teams make errors. Yep. Good teams have bad games once in a while. Seattle's had bad games in 4 out of the last 5 games. And so I think some of that is on coaching, and I need them to play. I needed them to figure out a way to play with less errors, self-inflicted wounds, because I think that comes with the maturity and the leadership that you're asking from some of your key players. And I really need those guys to kind of step up at this point, and Mike McDonald to really kind of figure that part out. You may not be able to run the ball effectively, but you got to figure that out. You've got to be able to instruct Ryan Grubb to just say, do or die, dude. You got to run the ball 23 times, 24 times in this game. And we're going to do it no matter what, because we need to be dedicated to that. And we've got to give our guys an opportunity to do it. So, and they've got to go to their offensive linemen and say, we're going to run the ball in this game, and you guys need to do X, Y, and Z to make that happen. Yeah. So I'd like to see that.
I agree. I think that's one of those things that we just need to see. They need to step up and make that change and do what they need to do to make that happen. I will say that I'm looking at this and I look at the defense, and you saw this if you watched the game, that Josh Joby had that interception, which was awesome. Running it back down to the 4-yard line, like that was great. But overall, they picked on him. They picked on him hard. He gave up a lot of yards and a lot of receptions and I mean, this is a guy who's not even on the roster. He's on a practice squad, and he's being asked to come up and play a lot of snaps. And that is, and
it was Woolen's first game back, and I understand Trey Brown's probably going to be back this game. I also understand that McDonald believes that DK Metcalf is going to be back this week. So
Josh Joby played 51 snaps in this game, 67% of the snaps as the third cornerback. This is a practice squad guy. Rick Woolen hasn't played in a month, and then he comes in and plays 69 snaps, which is 91%. Like, that's the kind of stuff where there were problems. What got me in this one that I was a little surprised about is, why is Josh Joby getting 51 snaps and Jeremiah Pritchett getting 0? If you have to play someone who's not as good, can you at least play the rookie that has a higher ceiling that he might develop. I don't know.
I also noticed too that Kobe Bryant played 100% of the snaps. Only one of 3 players that did. Dodson and Jones, their new Ernest Jones, played 100% of the snaps and got 15 tackles, by the way.
Kobe Bryant is currently the starting free safety. Julian Love is now the starting strong safety. He's moved up into the box. Kobe Bryant's now the starting free safety on the back end, and played 100% of the snaps. Okay. I think he made some plays. I think he made a couple mistakes, but I think he made some plays. It's hard for the free safety. It's that deep to overly impact a game. The
defense is giving up 67.5% completion percentage on the season. That's the 8th highest in the NFL.
Yeah, that's bad.
That's bad considering that was their strength, the premium group out of the defense, which we thought was going to be pretty decent this year, is just not getting it done either. Now, I've noticed too, their pass rush has disappeared in the last 5 games. And that's Uchenna didn't play in the first 4 games.
Uchenna Nwasu has only played
he's been non-factor. So what happened to that? What happened to our pass rush? And so it's just it's a conundrum for me. I'm not exactly sure. I'd really love to be able to sit down with Mike McDonald and watch some film with him and just like, what's going on here? Why were we able to do this early and now there's nothing? How come our back end is discombobulated when we were pretty sticky the first 3 weeks? And so I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. I think some of it is just being on the field so much. After a while, you just get worn down. Some of these guys are getting worn down. The offense only had 51 snaps in this game. The defense was 76 snaps. That's a big discrepancy.
Well, that's the kind of stuff that's been happening every week.
Of a game. Yeah.
That's been happening every week. If you look at time of possession, 22 minutes for Seattle to 38 minutes. They almost got doubled up, twice as many minutes for Buffalo as Seattle. And you know why? Because Buffalo could run the ball and convert third downs, and Seattle couldn't do either of those things. 1 for 7 on third down, 0 for 1 on fourth down, and could not run the ball. So they're forcing the defense to just be out on the field forever.
Well, and they had 14 rushing first downs against us. 14 out of their 29 first downs were on rushing attempts, which was the worst in the NFL, by the way. It's it's hard. I mean, it really is hard because there's so much not going right now that it's very difficult to correct any one thing and think it's going to make a difference. But they have to start somewhere. I think that running game is sitting right in front of you with an obvious solution. You got to start there. And then on the defensive side, they're just going to have to stack the box, and put Trey Brown and Reek Woolen and Witherspoon on one-on-one matchups. Get out of the zone, put 8 guys in the box, run some man, and take your chances on the back end. But you got to get to the quarterback. You got to stop the run. You got to sell out. You got to do one thing well. You've got to do one thing well, like on both sides of the ball. Otherwise, you're not giving your chance. You don't have a chance.
Yeah. The Bills had more than 2 minutes of possession for every first down Seattle got. Right? So if Seattle gets a first down, that equates to 2 minutes of possession time extra for Buffalo the next time they get the ball. Like, you can't have discrepancies like this where it's just so one-sided. And to say that, sure, see, like in some of the games, like, okay, they weren't running the ball, but Geno Smith was playing good and they were getting the passing yards. They only had 201 passing yards in this game. They only had 32 rushing yards in this game.
And Geno had 16 of those.
Yeah. Like
it's bleak. It's bleak.
Yeah.
Now, the only grain of salt I have is Buffalo's a good team.
Buffalo's a really good team.
Came into this game 5-2. The left is 6-2. They're going to be in the AFC Championship game, probably with Kansas City at the end of the year.
Yeah, to me, those are the best two teams in the NFL right now.
In the NFL, not just in the conference. So
no,
that's where I'm somewhat optimistic. So when you go look at like Mike McDonald's news conference today, it's almost like they didn't lose. He's out there talking about being optimistic. He's talking about solving problems. Here's what we have to do. Here's what I'm asking my team to do. He's telling Geno indirectly. Geno was complaining about the crowd at Lumen Field not being 100% Seahawks. And Mike McDonald basically said, yeah, we just got to win. When you win and you play well, that's when the crowd cheers you on. So he was telling Geno, hey, there is no excuses. Suck it up and just play well. Right. And so I love that message.
Well, and now, like, how much cheering is this crowd going to do when you're getting your ass handed to you?
Well, there's a couple things. A, yes. B, we have an entire conversation to be had about ticket prices and, fans being able to have access and corporations and all of that kind of crap. So that's a separate entity, but there are a ton of resale tickets out there that opposing fans buy up and go to games. I know that firsthand. Yeah. I'm in the Arizona market down here. Seahawks fans travel very well to Arizona games, so it does happen for other fan bases. Seattle's not immune to that.
Glendale is a very friendly environment for Seahawks because of how many Seahawks fans buy up tickets there. And it happens everywhere. Like, let's not pretend it doesn't. It happens everywhere. People buy season tickets and they put a pile of money into them. And if you pick a few games during the year and you sell those tickets, you can, make up most of your costs. You still get to go to 4 games or 5 games a year, and you do so for almost for free because you've sold your tickets for a lot. And it happens. And would be nice if fans did a better job of selling tickets to Seahawks fans, but the way the secondary market is right now, you don't know who you're selling to. You put them out on the market and somebody buys them.
We've put out a marginal product for like 7-8 years straight.
No,
near 500 team for 500, you know what I'm saying? It just happened. It erodes that home field advantage. It erodes that, the fan base to the point where that's kind of what happens. So, all right. I think that's enough for this show and this game. And I don't know how many times this year, Keith, we've said flush the game. And I don't know how many more times that we're going to say flush the game.
So,
but it's one of those years where I think we're going to have some really cool moments still remaining. And we're going to have some really frustrating things happening that tell us that we have a ways to go before we have the right team on the field.
Yeah. So we're coming up this Sunday is the Rams, first of two matchups against LA.
And they played very well against Minnesota.
Yes, they did. They got their star receivers back, and suddenly the offense did not look pathetic.
It's amazing how that works.
Yeah, because they've got 2 really good receivers, and for the first time this year, both of them played, and the offense looked good, and they beat a good Vikings team 30-20. They also did that on Thursday night, which means that they're coming off a mini bye. They've had extra days to prepare, extra days to get healthy, extra days to rest. before this game with Seattle. So that is going to that just makes it harder. It just does.
Yeah. If I was a Seahawks player, man, I'd want to be out there today playing. I really would.
I'd want to. That's how you flush a game, is you get back out on the field and you do it. So,
yeah. So, they need to get out there. They're getting a little healthier. That's good. So we'll see what happens. We'll come back at the end of the week here and preview that Rams game.
Plus, they'll have Ernest Jones on the field after he's actually practiced.
I thought he looked good, man.
He did.
He led the team. He was in a lot of plays.
He led the team in tackles. He was in on a lot of plays. He was chasing stuff down. He was doing stuff. He still hasn't practiced with this team. He went through a walkthrough and then played. So now he will have actually had a practice with the team, and hopefully that makes things better.
Yeah.
Getting guys that actually have practiced with the team to actually be on the field with them.
Yeah, but I'm hopeful that
I am too. He's such a good
workout.
He's such a tremendous talent. Like he's a special player. They just need to make this work. And I think he's a guy that can be a difference maker. I really do. Now that he's had a chance to practice with the team and learn everybody's names, that's helpful. If you actually know the names of the people that you're playing with.
I wonder if, yeah. I think he's going to be a decent player for the Seahawks. It'll be interesting to see what they can get him for on some sort of an extension or a new contract, where they don't have to overpay. I just don't want to see them overpay at that spot, considering all the other holes they've got to fill. All right, let's get out of here. Find Keith on Twitter at Myers NFL. You can find me at NW Seahawk, the show, Seahawks Playbook Podcast. Find us on your favorite podcast platform and our YouTube channel, all that good stuff. So until next time, go Hawks.
Go Hawks.
Seahawks Playbook Podcast listeners, thanks for joining us for another edition of the show. You can find us on Twitter. Bill is at NW Seahawk, Keith is at Myers NFL, and the show is at Hawks Playbook. You can listen and subscribe to the show at SeahawksPlaybook.com.